Thank you for having me, everyone. I'm going to talk about data hazards, which is a project that I've been working on since 2021. So we've heard a lot about interdisciplinary nature of precision psychiatry and the importance of working as an interdisciplinary team in this field. And we've also heard about the importance of doing good data ethics and good ethical processes within that. The thing is, AI moves so quickly, and we've seen that in the last couple of years with the rise of generative AI especially, that it's actually very difficult for a lot of processes and regulations and laws even to keep up with the speed of what's happening and the potential also for its impact on patients, on people who use the technologies we're developing, and even on society in general that we might not even be able to anticipate yet. And so to do this kind of conversation about what good ethics means in these spaces, to do those conversations in the context of sometimes very complex interdisciplinary teams that might also involve patients and the public, it might involve policymakers, it might involve people who have never really thought about AI ethics before. How do we have good conversations about that in a way that's meaningful and productive? We also know in general that in AI ethics, we need some stronger tools for harms discovery, for future thinking about what's going to happen potentially with AI tools, or involving the public, and also some community consensus about how we're going to talk about these things. So the Data Hazards Project is a community-led initiative, and by that I mean that anyone can contribute to it. And so in steering a project in that way, as a grassroots kind of building up from the bottom, we're hoping to gather as many different perspectives as possible and therefore make the resources as useful as possible. It's a shared open source vocabulary, which means that we're defining the types of ethical harms that we're concerned about and how we can kind of define them in a way that makes them clear for lots of different audiences. And we can all get on the same page very quickly and have useful conversations about them. Data hazards look a lot like kosh chemical hazards. You might recognize them if you work in those sciences, or even if you've picked up a bottle of bleach in your house before, you've probably seen something that looks a bit like that. And they come with a very similar kind of ethos, which is just because something has a risk or a hazard, it doesn't mean that we should be pursuing that technology or that application. It means we need to do it with a really good awareness of what the risks are and with mitigations for those risks. And we need to be thinking about that really early on, just like Jonathan's just said. That needs to be a process that we do throughout research, not just as one single barrier in a research ethics application. Or in some instances, a lot of AI research doesn't actually touch research ethics in some senses because it might not involve participants and the future kind of applications in society might still be very far away. So it's not even always necessary to go through those institutional kind of barriers or hoops, as some people kind of describe them. The ways that we use these labels and the ways that we've tried them out so far have been trying to get researchers to engage in interdisciplinary discussions about the ethics of their research. And that's been by holding workshops and inviting people to come present their projects to a range of people from different backgrounds and hear their conversations about the kinds of things that are coming up for them and worries they might have about the future applications of these technologies. The kinds of questions that we ask are around kind of future thinking of what's the worst case scenario, what could happen? And that's a scary process for some people. So it's also been important to develop alongside the process of how do you facilitate those conversations in a way that's safe for everyone that's involved, in a way that encourages researchers to feel safe to be reflexive and reflective about their research and to kind of take forward the suggestions from people and think about how they could mitigate potential hazards or harms. And the kinds of things that can go wrong are all sorts of things. Sometimes if your research works exactly as it's intended to, that could generate some kind of risk that's different to what happens if it goes wrong. Sometimes if a technology is created for a certain output or a certain context and is applied in another one, that could also create a whole different set of harms that may not have been considered before. So there's lots of avenues to think about these future potential harms as well. So I've been talking about them, but here's what they actually are at the moment. This is version 1.0 of our data hazards vocabulary. And you can see the website at the top. If you're interested, you can go to the website and find out a bit more about it. The kinds of things that might be relevant, especially when we're thinking about precision psychiatry, which do align with traditional ethics processes and go beyond. Things like reinforcing existing bias. And that might just look like having an imbalanced data set, which doesn't, for example, classify well if you have lots of people with lighter skin in your data set, not as many people with darker skin, how does that technology then extend and actually be applied in the real world? That's something we need to think about. What does it mean to classify or rank people? And that's a really interesting one in the context of mental health when we're thinking about the social meanings of classification and mental health attribution of diagnoses. The lacking community involvement is also super interesting in terms of how we think about public participation in AI and data science fields. How do we involve people in really heavy data-focused research? I think we can, but we need to think more carefully about how we do it well. So that's me done. Thank you very much, and come find me.